What's up guys, Coach Az, and today we're going to be doing a strikers breakdown of Valentina "The Bullet" Shevchenko. Now it's been a while since we've done a strikers breakdown, so just a reminder, we're going to be going over her style, her stance, her guard, her preferred punching techniques, kicking techniques, some of the combinations that she likes to throw, and then a few of those intangibles, the things that it's hard to describe and hard to explain, but we're going to try our best to break it down so that you guys get a better understanding of what she does so well. Now, for any of you that live under a rock and don't know who she is, she's the current UFC flyweight champion and has defended that title now a total of 6 times. She originates from Kazakhstan and has a background in Muay Thai as well as Taekwondo, and of course then made her way into mixed martial arts. So let's get started by talking about her overall style. As mentioned, she was a Muay Thai fighter before she got into MMA, and this is very apparent even in her UFC fights. She maintains a very Muay Thai based stance and guard, and a lot of the techniques she used you can tell have that Muay Thai influence. She leans towards being a counter fighter, which means that she likes her opponent to initiate the exchange, and then she capitalizes on mistakes and openings as they attack at her. And finally, she's a bit of a sniper in the sense that she's very economical with her striking. She doesn't punch thin air, and a lot of female UFC fighters are guilty for this. They'll shadow box the air in front of their opponent, and very rarely do they find themselves getting into the correct range in order to land the strikes. Valentina, on the other hand, is very economical with her striking, and this can be seen by her striking accuracy numbers. Valentina fights out of a southpaw stance, and for those who are unfamiliar, that means that she fights with her right leg in front. Now, I don't know if Valentina is left-handed, because a lot of people, especially when they come from a Taekwondo background, favor putting their good leg in front, as in if I'm right-handed, I'm also right-legged, and a lot of Taekwondo fighters will put their right leg in front so that they can utilize that dexterity and power within their lead leg. Her stance is what I'd call an adjusted Muay Thai style. Muay Thai in the sense that it's not a particularly wide stance and it's not extremely narrow either. Very balanced, very centered. However, she tends to go with a very balanced weight distribution. By that I mean she's not favoring putting her weight onto the back leg or putting it heavy onto the lead leg. She keeps her weight very much 50-50 between her feet. She likes to fight on the balls of her feet, which means that the heels are off the ground the majority of the time. Now, unlike the Wonder Boy style that we've spoke about previously, she's not necessarily bouncing, but she is staying very light on her feet, which helps to open up a lot of the techniques she enjoys to use that we're going to break down in a moment. A more classic Muay Thai style stance would see them favoring their back leg so that their lead leg is a little bit lighter. This is both to help them with checking kicks because they can lift that lead leg quicker, and also with firing off their teep, their front kick into the body and into the face. I think the reason that Valentina's made this adjustment is because she relies so heavily on footwork when it comes to her defense and her countering. Her guard is a pretty classic Muay Thai guard. She wears her hands relatively high and relatively out in front off of her body. What's interesting is you very rarely see her using it for the purposes of blocking and defending. It very much is just the starting position from where she throws the majority of her strikes. Again, I'm going to break it down in a bit how much she relies on her footwork and the adjustment of distance in order to set up her shots. Another interesting note for Valentina is that she doesn't use a ton of fakes. Fakes and feints are something that we consider to be an essential part of the dynamics, but actually Valentina doesn't tend to throw a lot of them. Again, I think where her style is so countering based, she wants her opponents to feel overly confident with being able to attack her. So if you're constantly feinting and faking at people, that's going to create moments of hesitation for them. Whereas if you really want them to come at you so that you can then take advantage of an opening, you kind of need to let them feel like there's an opportunity to hit you. And if there's constantly fakes coming, people might hesitate to throw. So she tends to just wait, use her movement to adjust the distance, allow her opponent to initiate the attack, and then take advantage with the counters. If you were only going to analyze one part of Valentina's game, I'd recommend just spending some time watching her fights and looking at her footwork. And by her footwork, what I really mean is her ability to manage the distance between her and her opponent. As I've said earlier, she likes to stay light on the balls of the feet. She likes to move in and out plenty. What she really enjoys doing, or what she's so good at doing, is staying right at the edge of the fire. And what I mean by that is, when she makes her opponents miss, she makes them miss by the smallest of margins. And this is a really important skill to be able to develop as a counter fighter, because you really want your opponent to A, believe that they're going to hit you so that they fully commit, and also to make them miss by the most narrow of margins, because that means that you're probably still in range to then hit them with the counter. Now, of course, this is a very dangerous game to play, because if it goes wrong, and it only needs to go wrong once, then you can potentially get knocked out or get badly hit. But when you get it right, as Valentina does more often than not, it means that you create openings for counters over and over and over again. It's in her punching game that you really see how economical a striker she is. She doesn't tend to throw a lot of variety in her techniques. More often than not, it's a 1-2, a jab cross, or a 3-2. She likes to lead off that lead hook and then throw the cross. Very common for Muay Thai fighters of that background. And like I said, the majority of the time, these are thrown as counters. Now for me, when I break down counter fighting, I put it into 3 categories, and I do it based off when you initiate the counter. I call these first timing, second timing, and third timing. First timing is when you basically beat your opponent to the shot. As in, let's take it all off of a jab. Your opponent throws a jab, and before they've even really began to initiate the punch, you've hit them. Second timing is you're throwing the counter as they're at the moment of like maximum extension. They are throwing the jab, their arm is fully extended out, and then you hit them. And third timing is they've thrown the technique, completely missed, and you hit them on the end of the technique. So again, let me just quickly revise those. The 3 timings, you either attack just before, during, or just after. And they're the 3 kind of windows that you have for countering. Valentina tends to really favor the first timing and the third timing, meaning she either beats her opponent to the punch, like for example with a step in jab. The second she feels like her opponent's initiating or she reads the attack, she'll step in with that lead arm and shoot that jab straight through the middle. If she feels like there's space, she'll follow that with the 2, but she'll often test it with the 1 once, twice, 3 times, get the read, get the timing, and then start layering on that second power shot with the back arm. The third timing, you'll see her use her check hook, where she allows her opponents to throw and she gets out of the way of that hook by pivoting her feet off the line and shooting her lead hook over the top of the guard. Another counter that Valentina uses perfectly is the spinning back fist. More often than not, people see this as an attacking technique because it's so aggressive and because you can use it going forward. But Valentina almost exclusively uses it to counter off of the same side punch. Meaning, if you're throwing your jab, that means the side of your body that the jab is being thrown from, that's what's vulnerable. Because your arm is extended out to throw the punch, it's not protected against shots coming in on it. So as you throw your jab, Valentina will spin to that side and be able to hit you with that spinning back fist. Now in that instance, we're talking orthodox against her southpaw stance. If it's on a southpaw to southpaw, as in they're in a closed stance, she'll do this off of her opponent's cross or often off of their kicks. Now this isn't to say that Valentina doesn't go forward and initiate attacks, but it certainly is the rarer of the 2. When she does, she really enjoys using Superman punch variations, whether that be pushing in off of a jab or off of a back arm, and always ending combinations that are pushing forward with a leg kick. Partly thanks to her Taekwondo background, Valentina's got a great kicking game. She's got amazing dexterity in her legs, and although she doesn't use the widest variety of shots, it's very clear that she has the capability to when needed. She really favors throwing leg kicks off of the lead side. The majority of people she's going to fight are going to be orthodox, which means that that lead leg kick would hit to the outside of the thigh or to the calf. When fighting a fellow southpaw, she'll often still throw that lead leg, but of course at this instance it would then be attacking the inside leg of that thigh. Of course, that dexterity means that she does have the option and the ability to throw amazing head kicks. She's done amazing, spectacular knockouts using the head kick, as well as spinning kicks. She has a fantastic spinning back kick, and the beauty of it again is the economy of movement. She shoots it straight down that center line, and it's amazing how quickly she throws it and how little she telegraphs it. Again, the big reason that I think she has so much success with it is because she throws it as a countering technique. She doesn't just throw it with the intention of just hitting out of nowhere. She waits for her opponents to create an opening by maybe throwing their jab or throwing their lead arm, and she shoots that kick bang underneath into the body. Valentina's combinations are always relatively short, 3 or 4 shots maximum. Like I said, she tends to counterfight, which means that you're going to favor throwing 1s and 2s, a single check hook, a slide back and hit them with a cross, the step in jab, or of course hitting them with the 1-2, hitting with the hook, and then following through with the back arm. However, when she does drive forward, she tends to drive forward in sets of 3. More often than not, it's a 1-2 lead leg kick or a 1-2-3 back leg kick. She likes to push forward with the hands and then finish on the kick, as is very typical in Muay Thai style fighting. Now, of course, beyond the realm of just her simple striking, she's very effective in the grappling, whether that be the wrestling, the clinch game, or on the floor with her BJJ. But as we are doing a striker's breakdown, the one area that's worth some focus is her clinch game. Of course, Muay Thai is huge on the clinch, and she does a great job of being able to attack with both knees and elbows, especially off the break, being able to get the opponent against the cage, create space and land that elbow over the top, or drag their head down and drive knees up through the center line. In regards to the intangibles with Valentina, I think the 2 most important ones is her composure and her ability to stay in the edge of the fire. That ability to stay so calm allows her to be so selective with her shots. It's very rare we see her get in any way emotional or worked up or out of herself. So she manages to stay really within her skill set and get her opponent to fight her fight. She gets them to work at her pace, and she draws them into a game where they're leading and she's countering. And slowly she picks apart and dissects her opponents as the rounds progress. Her understanding and development of timing is what's so fantastic at allowing her to play that countering game. She has fantastic speed, and she uses it to measure distance, see what's coming from her opponent, and choose the effective counter to take advantage of that opening. So there we have it, guys. That's our striker breakdown of Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done, I'd really appreciate it if you just hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. We've got new videos coming every week, and I promise more of these striker breakdowns coming sooner rather than later. I will see you on the next one.